here. Now, I remember the pullover, there were swans on it. That's my body.
Oh.
Right? I remember the pullover. I was attached to the pullover because it had these swans at the top, you can see. And I remember these pockets, there were swans. Then our laundry woman, she threw it together with other things into the tub, washing tub, and it came out too small, and I cried. I cried and cried because I loved it. So I remember that. You see, the body changes, right? Body changes, but I'm the same person. And so you go through many bodies. You know, this was my dog. I remember his name is Cello. You know, he's a Cocker Spaniel. They're lovely dogs. They never bite children. And then this is my little brother who died. And then here we are looking through the hole what we are getting for Christmas. Parents arranging the Christmas tree. And we look through the keyhole to see what we're getting. And here I'm 13 or something. And it goes on, and so gradually my hair are growing, the dog is changing, hair is still growing, and then it goes on and on. It's very you see yourself through the eyes like through a window, as a young girl, as an elder girl, as an older girl, the body's changing. But you're always the same person. Your mentality is changing, that's true. You don't have we're not taking a pacifier into the mouth and play in the sandbox anymore. You know, we have other things, we have other toys. People have bigger toys now. But there was a time we were happy in the sandbox. So we can remember the sandbox, we can remember so many things. I remember I ran away from my mother when I was 7 years old. She was after me, you know, on a particular kind of street. You remember all these things, but the body is gone. It changes every second. And sooner or later, the body will be in the box. And people are crying over the body, but the soul is somewhere else. What you bury is not you. It's just a body, it's just a coat. And in India, they burn the body, which is really the most hygienic way to deal with this lump of matter. Very ecological, very simple, and very, how do you say, benign way of dealing with death. Instead of going to the cemetery all the time and crying over the body while the person is already growing up, he may be a grown-up man somewhere else, and you're still crying in your graveyard over what? A bag of chemicals, you know? It's very simple, you know, if you think about it, you know, how everything can be very clearly explained through gross body. This is a subtle body, it's called Linga Sarira. This is Stula Sarira, Linga Sarira, you know. And now what happens if somebody is very depressed, and to such an extent, I just heard a friend of ours, that he jumped from the roof. Very tragic event. You see, he may be standing on the roof for some time because he cannot make up his mind, basically speaking. That's why sometimes people stare down for many hours. My father-in-law, he told me a story that he lives in New York and he drove through Manhattan. I may just use the false ego for a moment to squinch my thirst. Delicious. There was a man standing on a skyscraper, whole traffic collapsed. All the people came out of the cars and looked up there. There was somebody jumping. And he didn't jump for some time because he cannot make up his mind. The body, the mind tells him jump, intelligence said don't do that. You know? Here we have the duality. The mind says I can't bear it anymore, jump. Intelligence said no, don't do that. So finally the people were tired of the drama and somebody screamed, jump! And then about 100, 200 people all started screaming. It's America, you know? Jump, jump, jump! And he jumped. And everybody was very satisfied. He drove home and told his wife, I saw somebody who jumped from a skyscraper. It was very interesting. In America, everything is like a movie, you know? Nothing is real, you know? So that's what you have when somebody jumps, it will take some time. Now what happens here? His body is kaput, from one moment to another. And he cannot focus on another body. He's a ghost, he's a ghost. And not a great state of, sorry, the soul has to be here. Not a great way of being, because he wants to eat, he wants to sleep, and he doesn't have the body to do so. He cannot, he's thirsty, feels thirst, but he cannot. So what does he do? He cannot sleep. He tries to enter into another body, into somebody else's body who is psychologically unstable, for example, or drugged or whatever, in an unstable state of mind. The soul, ghost is able to enter this body and enjoys through his body eating, sleeping, and the rest. And you call it schizophrenia in psychology, or multi-personality disorder. That's exactly what that is. In the Bible they call it somebody's possessed by the devil. It's not possessed by the devil. It's just another guy inside. And it happens again and again that people have this experience that there's a split personality there. That somebody else enjoys, eats through his body. And this is what happens when a ghost may live in this ghostly body for some time. What you can do if somebody else is, for some reason, in this situation, you can perform pinda. There's an Indian ceremony, pinda, which allows a person to give another body. I remember back in 1996. I live in India most of the time, in winter, not in summer. Impossible to deal with that. 55 degrees that Vrindavan has. I bought a huge fridge from Goodrich and stuck my head into the freezer every 10 minutes to be able to survive the Indian summer in Vrindavan. And I stood on the roof. I couldn't take it anymore, but I'm glad I survived, but never again. So I had a visitor in my house. He bought years ago with a whole bunch of Krishna devotees, a beautiful kind of colonial house in old style with pillars and everything and nice big trees. So this fellow, you know this place? It's George Harrison from the Beatles. He stayed in our house for some time because he was interested in Krishna. I have quite a lot of pictures here. George is another one. I should have brought a beamer. He's my wife, my little boy. My little boy used to talk to him quite frequently. George, can you get me a credit card? What do we need a credit card for? It is very practical. Why it is practical? You stick the card in a crack and then money comes out. George, a kid, 4 years old, George, can you buy me an aircraft? Why? I have no money. You are very rich. How do you know this? In Ruku, the children say you're a very rich man. He was a rich man. I mean, I asked him, I give you an example. I asked him one time, we were friends, I asked him how much money you made since Christmas. It was the end of March. He says 90 days means $90 million. Think about that. You can't spend it, Every day $1 million by royalties into the bank account. Very rich, And I asked him, are you happy? And he said, I have the same anxieties, the same frustrations, the same depression sometimes, like everybody else. I don't see any difference. He said, and one thing I have you don't have. I said, what is that? He said, what happened to John Lennon can happen to you, a shot, can happen to me every single moment in my life. And sometimes I wake up bathed in sweat, in my anxieties. And when he said that, I thought by myself, I wouldn't like to have that, because it was a noise like this, he always was, you could see, he was paranoid. And so I thought, this is 96, I thought this is like, if you meditate this long enough, if something will happen. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, as you call it, And then in 2001, they heard a noise in his estate, Friars Park in Hertfordshire, in England, 30 minutes out of London. They heard a noise, somebody smashed a window, although he had huge barbed wire fence, 4 or 5 meters high, it looked like a Northern Irish police station, his place, around his whole estate, 64 acres. Somebody, and he had people making their rounds with watchdogs, and still somebody creeped in, smashed the wire fence, and his wife said, Oli said, don't go down. Oliver said, let's lock ourselves in, we call the police. He said, no, I handle this. He went down, and the guy behind him stabbed him to the ground, and he was 14 times stabbed in the breast. And then his wife, you have this, in India they have this stand for the lamps, this big brass stands, right, in a temple. And there was one, she said, I never was able to lift it up. She said, I could lift it up, like this in the air, and swung it on the head of the guy, and he cracked his skull and became unconscious and became arrested immediately, And George, he smoked a lot from the Beatles' time. Kirtan, anybody knows Kirtan? The blackest of the blackest without filter, 30, 40 cigarettes a day for 40 years. You get cancer, And he got cancer. He had throat cancer. It was therapy, by therapy. Chemo, he had a chemo and radiation, it got away. But then after this event where he had to be treated with so much antibiotics, his whole physical resistance fell down and the cancer came back. Breast cancer, brain tumor, and that was it. He was 56 years. You have all the money in the world, but with 56 years is not an age. I'm almost 20 years older now, It's not an age. John had to leave his 40. With all the men and all the money and all the fortune, So what happened was that